Hey, what's up everybody? DisThunder here, and today we are going to take a look at the Mezco Summer Comic Con exclusive 112 Collective Nightwing figure. This Nightwing is based on his look from the New 52 books of, what was that now, 13 years ago? So if you remember when the New 52 was new, congratulations, you are now a member of the My Back Hurts Club. That's a fine feeling, isn't it? And the big difference on the color palette is, well, just that. It's just the color palette. We have a standard blue version that is pending here as I am recording probably any day, any week now. Seems like stuff is kind of coming fast and furious. So any time now, I think we'll probably start getting pre-order notifications on the blue. But as I remember, the reason they went with the red coloring for New 52 was to give the Robins and former Robins kind of a unified color scheme in New 52, which I think is kind of a cool idea. But for whatever reason, it didn't look bad, but it never really gelled for me as a look for Nightwing. Your mileage obviously is going to vary. But what this does mean is we get a little bit of an advanced look at what the standard Nightwing is going to be, because essentially this is the exact same figure with red armor and red detailing instead of the blue, and red eyes instead of white. As you could probably guess, I'm not going to bother doing a lot of background detail on Nightwing because that is entirely unnecessary at this point in time. I will say, though, it took us a while in 112 to get to this guy, didn't it? There was a very strong kind of implied no Robin policy that's held for the better part of, the last 6 years. And that kind of all ended last year with the Damian Wayne Robin, and actually, well, probably before that, because I think we've seen this Nightwing going on a year and a half now. I don't remember. I want to say we saw him early 24 or late 23. So we've known about him for some time, but obviously that is no longer a factor, and we are getting Nightwings aplenty. Well, we're getting Robins aplenty, but that also means several Nightwings, so that's not bad. As I'm recording this, Red Hood, which we saw at San Diego, just went up for sale this week. This is, the first week of October. And so that really means we're just about a Tim Drake and a Carrie Kelly away from having all the Robins covered. Getting back to the Revieww part of things, let's go ahead and talk accessories first, because I've got the pictures in order in the editor, kind of accessory heavy on the front, so we'll start there. You've seen the Eskrima as I've been talking. He has two separate sets. You can combine a set with a bow staff, and I'll show you that as well. He also has these cool little spinning effect ones. These are red, where the regular ones are blue. That's a nice touch. I kind of wish the electrical effects had been the same. But this is still an awesome effect. I think FX did it first, but this might be the best I've seen so far. Here you can see the combined staff, also with his little gauntlet, we'll say, what are these? Probably tranquilizer dart launchers. This goes onto his right forearm, and it's just a piece you swap out, similar to Destro, actually. Very similar, in fact. Kind of hard to see. I try to get an okay-ish shot there, but you get the idea. He also has a separate set that are attached to his left hand. These could be the same kind of dart, or I guess they could be mini batarangs now that I'm looking at it. I'll leave that up to you. You run them how you see fit. But he also comes with his own Nightwing-style batarangs. I think he has 2 or 3 of those. And he has a dedicated hand with the gas grenades in it. You can see those in his, let's see, which side am I on? That's his left hand there. As you would expect, though, if you're going to have those, you got to kind of follow the lead of Snake Eyes and have some throwing effects, which he does come with 2 of those. And I've always been fond of these effects. I even made some more for Supreme Knight because he kind of missed out on the effect hand revolution, so I had to make him some to match. So obviously I'm going to love these whenever they're included. I think it's just a cool dynamic piece. Here's a little closer up shot of the gauntlet with the regular attachment on there. I assume you could treat that as like a communicator or, I don't know, remote for his garage door. Sure, why not? Nightwing also comes with a total of 4 head sculpts. You have 3 masked and 1 unmasked. Of the 3 masked, I should say, you have 2 with kind of, well, you have a full-on smile like this one here with a raised eyebrow, kind of doing a little bit of The Rock here. Then you have a little bit more neutral but still smirking. Again, the only thing I don't like about these right now, because of, obviously it's still appropriate, but I don't care for the red eyes. I know it's part of the costume. I know it's a look of New 52. Sorry, I'm knocking shit over in here. But it's not my favorite look for that Domino mask. And then there is, of course, the standard stoic head, and you'll notice that the hair sculpts are also slightly different between the three, which is a nice touch. This one is actually kind of borderline pissed, which I like because the other heads are smiling, so that seems appropriate. I'm showing my age here, but I think if you really wanted to shine me on, a ponytail would have been a nice inclusion. But instead, we did get this really nice unmasked head, which is kind of funny because for some reason I think of this Nightwing as being older. Maybe it's because of his size. We'll get into that later. But he looks a little younger, a little baby-faced with the mask off. All right, next let's do a little bit of a look at the suit details because there are quite a few unique touches to this, and they are significant. Starting with the back, we've got a holder for his Eskrima, and this is similar to like what the old DC Classics figure did, although it's not perfect. They're kind of soft, and they don't hold real firmly when you put the Eskrima in there. I mean, I guess that's better than having them break, although I have heard of breakage issues too. However, the lines line up really nicely, how the metallic goes across the shoulders and in the chest. And then he has his own utility belt. I think there's some more of those little darts there in the back of the belt. I actually like Nightwing with the utility belt. It seems like it's Bat Family. It belongs there. Here's a little look at the gauntlets again. There's the right-hand one that has the removable piece that you just kind of get your fingernail under, and there we go, pop off like that. This kind of reminds me not only of Destro's, but a little bit of, maybe it's the coloring more than anything else, but they remind me of Batman Beyond's gauntlets and boots while we're looking at it here. And this pocket here on the side of the belt will pop off. This allows you to give him a thigh drop holster, which I have not used in my pictures because it's not something I usually associate with Nightwing, but I do like thigh drop holsters. So presumably you just kind of slide it up the thigh here, past the knee pad, and up over. Man, boy's got some quads. Okay, not as easy as I was thinking it was going to be. As you can see, it kind of catches there on the inside of his thigh, and I'm really a little concerned about tearing some of this fabric here. I'm gonna cut and do this again. There we go. And here it is, mostly hanging on to the clip in the belt, a lot like the other thigh drop holsters from Mezco, but this one's a bit tight, and I don't know, the Eskrima don't fit in there great. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of this. It's just not quite what I had in mind. And again, it's not something I associate with Nightwing. I'm never going to turn down an extra optional part. I think it's great, but for now, I think I'm just going to keep the belt as is. All that said, though, I do really like the look of the suit. It has kind of a futuristic, Neo-Gotham Nightwing kind of look, and I dig that. Coming to the articulation, you can see we have a double ball-jointed neck. You can see there's a little bit of a gap at the top ball joint, just under his ear there. But that does seem to allow for a little bit more range, especially when it comes to side-to-side pivot, gives him a little bit more emotive capability. Coming down to the shoulders, he does have a butterfly joint, allows for a little bit of back and a teeny bit of forward. I thought this was Snake Eyes' body, now I'm pretty sure that's not the case. Beyond that, you've got a ball-jointed shoulder, bicep swivel, and then, of course, a double-jointed elbow, which gets pretty good range despite the tightness of the suit, and then the usual Mezco ball-jointed wrists there. They're kind of sunken into the gauntlet, which I also prefer the look of that more. Torso, I think it's all here. It's just tight right now because the figure's still very new. And as you can see, though, once you get it flexed, once you combine the upper and lower joints, you get a pretty good crunch. There's swivel upper and lower. There's one behind the belt there. About 90 degrees at the leg. Again, I think the suit is still fighting me here. I think we can rehab this and get it a little looser as we play with it more. Out 90 degrees, only just so. And then actually not too bad double jointed knee. And the ankles have a pretty good range of motion. I like this newer style ankle. This is better than the one on Snake Eyes, but similar, I would say. So when it comes to what body this is, I'm now wondering if this in the Storm Shadow, this may actually be the same body as Death Adder. I'm not 100%, but we'll do that comparison to see where that ends up. We're going to go ahead and forget about that thigh drop holster, though. And yeah, despite being a little tight, I really do like the overall presentation of this suit. I think it complements something like Supreme Knight extremely well. Well, except for maybe in one way, which we're about to get into. For comparisons, here we have them with my other Robins in the collection. Here's my custom Batman Forever Robin on a Iron Fist body, Nightwing, Damian Wayne, and the Golden Age Dick Grayson Robin with a McFarlane head. I always felt like my custom Robin was a bit on the tall side, but as you can see as we go on, that is that's not really the case anymore. Here he is just 1-to-1 with the Damian Wayne Robin, and I think scale-wise, this works pretty damn good. And in some ways, this is actually slightly an improvement over the way he scales with Supreme Knight Batman, which you knew I was going to get to, but that's where we're slowly leading toward here. And then here he is just 1-to-1 with the Golden Age Robin, which is a figure that has no right being as good as it is. And again, a figure that we discussed at the time being maybe a little bit taller than it should be. Now it's setting a pattern. Dick Grayson is actually not a short kid. And now here we are with Supreme Knight Batman and Damian and Nightwing in the middle, and you see what I'm getting at. This Nightwing is actually a bit taller than Supreme Knight Batman. Now, obviously, Supreme Knight still got a significant amount of bulk on him. He's a lot wider. He's just a lot bigger overall. But if I bring in my custom Supreme Knight here that's on the Justice League body that makes him just a hair taller, you can see even there, I mean, Nightwing's basically looking eye to eye with him. And to be fair, I mean, Supreme Knight is now, going on 5 years old, and there has been this gradual uptick in scale, kind of not just with Mezco, but across the board for everybody. So I'm not like bashing it particularly. I'm just making a note of the fact that this Nightwing is very adult-sized. And that's kind of why I mentioned that about the head sculpts. He looks a little younger in the face than I would have pictured this Nightwing being with as big as he is. And again, I'm not saying it's a negative, because presentation overall, this figure is a great figure as a package. I'm just making these observations kind of steady stream of thought as we go. And now here we are with Storm Shadow, who was initially what I was thinking they were using for this body. This is also probably my favorite medium body Mezco has currently. But as you can see, his shoulders are a little higher, as well as the top of his head. This is not the same body. In fact, I don't know that he shares any parts of them. Even his musculature is a little bit different. And the style of articulation, like you see the elbows there, these are not the same elbows. But that did lead me to my next comparison, which was not Snake Eyes, but Death Adder. This, I think, is where this body comes from. And given the time frame when we saw this figure initially, that makes sense. I believe this is probably where we have some part sharing going on here. And that's not a bad thing, but that also helps make him a bit taller, because Death Adder is a bit taller figure. And as you can see here, well, the shoulders are making me second guess myself, but I'm still pretty confident I think this is where we share bodies at. And this is not a bad choice for a Nightwing figure at all. In fact, if they hadn't announced one, Death Adder would have been a hell of a base body for a tactical Nightwing. So overall, this is the MezX version. Thankfully, it was not terrible to get your hands on. I don't think it went to wishlist for about a week. I think there are quite a few of these figures made. So if you prefer the New 52 look, or you just missed out on the pre-orders for the classic look, at least he was plentiful, and that means you do get a Nightwing to put in your collection, which unfortunately is more than I can say for Red Hood right now, but I'm kind of hopeful that'll work itself out as we go. We may see another retailer exclusive version, something like that'll work it out in the end. And although I feel like I'm being a little more critical than usual on this review, I don't know if that's really the case. It sometimes just feels that way when you start getting into the nitpicky stuff. But overall, like I said, the presentation and the overall figure with the bang for your buck is definitely here. I think this is a damn good Nightwing figure. I think the only thing that really hurts him is that we waited so damn long to get a Nightwing figure. That tempers your expectations in a way that's very hard to meet for anybody. And, one of the side effects of that time frame between, like I said, between Supreme Knight and getting this figure is the way these figures are constructed is a bit different than the Bat family that I have currently built. I guess the only solution here is I get a newer, bigger, meaner Supreme Knight Batman, right? I mean, it seems like it's only fair. But yeah, nitpicks aside, this is a solid figure. Obviously, it's built on a very good base body. I really like the costume details. I think the vinyl detailing, like the soft armor applications on the suit, look really good without being overwhelming for Nightwing, which is good because you want to see a Nightwing stay kind of lithe and agile. And while it does feel a little bit stilted articulation-wise right now, I feel like if these figures with these full vinyl suits have been any prior experience for me, I think as I play with it, it's going to loosen up and I'm going to get more range out of it. So I'm not too worried about that there. And frankly, I don't think you should be either. If that's your concern, is you feel like maybe this Nightwing's not as acrobatic as you want. I think you'll get there. You just got to kind of break those joints loose and loosen up the fabric a bit. So overall, yeah, definitely recommend this Nightwing figure. Again, if you don't like the red, all you gotta do is wait a little bit longer on the blue, and that should be in our hands shortly, which I'll no doubt do another review on just to cover the differences. In the meantime, though, thank you, of course, to Mezco Toys for helping me get a copy to review for you, and thank you to you all to coming and watching the review. Hopefully it was somewhat helpful, and we will talk again shortly on the next one. Bye.